You know, some stories are so spooky, so out there, you just assume they're made up, right? Well, the tale of the SS Orang Medan, this one might just be true. We're about to get into one of the most terrifying ghost ship legends of all time.
It all comes down to two simple, terrifying words. Just imagine a desperate message tapped out in Morse code from a ship completely alone out on the ocean. I die. And just like that, that was it. The very last thing anyone ever heard from the crew of the Orang Medan.
All right, so let's picture this. We're in the Strait of Malacca back in 1948. This place is basically a highway for ships, one of the busiest in the world. And it's a calm day, clear skies, everything is totally normal. And then, out of nowhere, a series of frantic messages just rips through that silence.
And you can literally feel the panic building with each message. The first one, it's a standard SOS. Hey, we need a doctor. But then, just moments later, the tone completely changes. The operator is saying the whole crew is dying, begging for a warship to come help. And then, that last jumble of Morse code. And nothing. Just silence.
So after that final, chilling "I die," the airwaves go dead. A few ships nearby picked up the calls, but the one that was closest was an American merchant ship called the Silver Star. You can just imagine the captain hearing those terrifying messages. He didn't hesitate. He turned his ship around immediately and went full steam ahead toward the Orang Medan's last known location, probably expecting the absolute worst.
It takes them a few hours, but then they see it. The Silver Star spots the Orang Medan on the horizon. But something is just wrong. The ship is just floating there. No movement, no noise, totally silent, totally still. It's incredibly eerie.
So, the Silver Star gets closer, and the crew is scanning it looking for anything. But there's nothing. No damage to the hull, no signs of a fight or a fire. From the outside, the ship looks perfectly fine. It's just adrift.
And here's another weird thing. It's a steamship, right? But there's no smoke coming from its funnels. The rescue crew is shouting, they're blasting their horn, trying to get any kind of response. All they get back is the sound of the ocean. There is absolutely no sign of life on board.
Finally, a boarding party from the Silver Star has to go over, and what they step into it's a complete nightmare. The entire crew, everyone, is dead. Bodies are everywhere, scattered on the decks, slumped over on the bridge. They find the radio operator, the one who sent that last message, dead at his post with his fingers still on the Morse key. Even the ship's dog, dead.
But look, the truly disturbing part wasn't just that they were dead. It was how they were found. Every single person on that ship was frozen in a state of pure, absolute terror. Their faces were twisted, mouths open like they were screaming, eyes wide, staring up at the sky or at nothing. A lot of them had their arms thrown up like they were trying to fight off some invisible threat.
And this is where it gets really weird. For all the terror on their faces, the rescuers couldn't find a single mark on anyone. Not a cut, not a bruise, no injuries at all. No signs of a struggle. It was as if they had all somehow just died of sheer fright.
Okay, so the rescue crew figures the only thing they can do is tow this ghost ship back to port. But the second they start hooking up the tow lines, smoke starts billowing out from one of the cargo holds. And this isn't just a little smoke. In a matter of moments, it's a raging fire. The boarding party has to run for their lives, scrambling back to the Silver Star, and just as they get clear, boom! A huge explosion just rips the Orang Medan in two. And then, it's gone, sinking fast, taking all of its secrets down to the bottom of the sea.
So, the ship sinks. The only evidence left is the story told by the crew of the Silver Star. And you'd think that would be the end of it. But this is where the story takes another strange turn. Because when historians and researchers tried to, actually verify any of this, they basically hit a brick wall.
So, on one hand, you have the doubters. They'll tell you there's no official record of the ship. It's not in Lloyd's shipping register, which is like the Bible for this stuff. So maybe it's just a tall tale, a sailor's ghost story that got out of hand. But then, on the other hand, you have believers who point out that the story was reported in Dutch newspapers, and, get this, it even shows up in a declassified CIA file. That kind of suggests the government, at least, thought something real happened out there.
And this idea of a ship that's real but not officially registered, it actually makes a lot of sense for the time period. Right after World War II, you had a lot of these so-called black ships, operating completely off the books, usually for smuggling or other illegal stuff.
So if the Orang Medan was carrying something it shouldn't have been, yeah, staying unregistered would have been priority number one.
Okay, so for the sake of argument, let's say the ship was real. What on earth could have happened to that crew? Let's dive into some of the big theories.
All right, theory number 1 is probably the most popular: a hazardous chemical leak. The idea is they were smuggling something nasty, maybe a mix of nitroglycerin and potassium cyanide. A little seawater gets in, releases a deadly gas that suffocates the crew, explaining those terrified faces. And the unstable nitroglycerin explains the big explosion at the end. Theory number 2 is a secret military mission. This one explains why the ship was unregistered and why the CIA was interested. Maybe it was carrying something left over from Japan's notorious Unit 731. And then there's theory number 3. The supernatural. I mean, with a scene that bizarre, you can't blame people for thinking ghosts or some other force was involved.
Look, we're probably never going to know for sure what happened, but for most investigators, that chemical leak theory, it's the one that just makes the most sense. It's the most logical explanation. It pretty much ticks all the boxes: the sudden deaths without injury, the looks of terror from suffocation, and of course the massive explosion that destroyed all the evidence.
Ultimately, the story of the SS Orang Medan is just this bone-chilling reminder that we really don't know everything about the oceans. I mean, it really makes you wonder, doesn't it? If an entire ship and its crew can be wiped out in such a horrifying way, leaving behind nothing but a ghost story, what other secrets does the sea refuse to give up?